for the newly reprinted collective autobiography of the Panther 21, Look for Me in the Whirlwind. The reprint features new writings by Sekou Odinga, Mumia Abu-Jamal, and Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown, among others. Speakers and cultural presenters for the evening include Larry Ham, Vienna Carroll, the Obadiah Wright Balance Dance Theater, Jamal Joseph, Dequi Keone Siddiqui, and Collective Flow. Everything takes place at the Commons Cafe, 388 Atlantic Avenue in downtown Brooklyn from 7:30 until 10:30 p.m. For further information, call 718-512-5008 or email freethamall2016@gmail.com. See you on Saturday.
And once again, this is WBAI New York, 99.5 FM and WBAI.org on the web. We are in fundraising mode, and once again, for the holiday of 2017, raising some funds to make sure that this institution known as WBAI continues to provide you information that you expect from us here on a regular basis. The number to call to show your support, once again, is 516-620-3602. Once again, 516-620-3602, or go to give2wbai.org on the web. That's give2wbai.org on the web. Stay tuned for State of the Arts NYC coming up.
State of the Arts NYC continues a recent tradition of celebrating the publication of The Snowy Day, a groundbreaking literary gem by author and book illustrator Ezra Jack Keats. It tells the story of a little boy named Peter who puts on his snowsuit and steps out of his house and into the hearts of millions of readers. The Snowy Day transformed children's literature with its pioneering portrayal of an African-American child. The charming story and artwork won a Caldecott Medal. The book will be read by yours truly, Malika Lee Whitney, and broadcast live Friday, December 8th on WBAI Radio 99.5 FM. State of the Arts airs at 5 p.m. and is produced and hosted by Savona Bailey-McClain.
Good evening. This is State of the Arts NYC, and I am your host, Savona Bailey-McClain, where we cover art. Tonight, we are celebrating the holidays with special guests. We have joining us tonight Rashaad Newsome and Sherrill Roland. Rashaad Newsome is a multidisciplinary artist whose works blend with several practices together. That includes collage, sculpture, video, music, computer programming, and performance to form an altogether new field. Best known for his visually stunning collages housed in custom frames, Newsome's work is deeply invested in how images used in media and popular culture communicate distorted notions of power. And then we have in the studio Sherrill Roland, and Sherrill Roland is here to talk about his project, The Jumpsuit Project, which challenges ideas around mass incarceration and works to generate a safe space to process, question, and share. And prior to his incarceration experience, he maintained a very general understanding about prisons and the justice system in this country. But now he has found that through his experience that it's far different, and he's sharing with others, particularly young people, so that they can have a better way of dealing with the situation and how best to protect themselves. Then we will have back with us for the second year a Harlem-based storyteller, Malika Lee Whitney, who will read the classic story live in the studio of the Snowy Day. So let's get started. So we're going to start with Mr. Newsome. Mr. Newsome, are you with us?
Hello?
Hi, Rashaad. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so very, very much for joining us. Are you okay?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay. I just heard a little bit of noise behind you.
Yeah.
So I basically wanted to let our audience know a little bit about you, which I did. And your practice is quite interesting. So for the benefit of our audience, you were born and raised in New Orleans, correct?
Yes.
And I'm sure that sort of fusion of food and art and jazz really impacted your life tremendously, particularly Mardi Gras and all the parades that took place. And you kind of enveloped all of those experiences to kind of push forward a post-minimalist sort of practice, correct?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So tell us, how did it all begin for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all began in what sense? What do you mean?
Well, what motivated you to want to engage with art and particularly performance?
Yeah, I mean, I always, I guess, art is one of those things that I think it chooses you. And if I had to say, I guess, like my earliest kind of experiences with participating in art making of any kind would be with my father. My father is a singer. He's retired now, but my brother and I used to perform with him. So that was sort of my earliest kind of experiments in art making, and then from there, I kind of slowly started to find my voice.
What type of music did your father and your brother engaged in?
We sang a lot of like blues songs, and we did a lot of covers. Yeah.
No, the reason I'm saying that is because a lot of families used to sing on a regular basis. My family did too. My grandmother used to sing in the South with the quartets. And so therefore, I'll never forget, I was like about 9 years old, and my grandmother started showing me and my sister in the living room how to stand properly, hold your hand, and sing different songs. And my first song was Dionne Warwick, I Come to the Garden Alone. So that's the reason why I asked you that. I thought that was, really interesting how people's lives connect in so many different ways.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us then, dovetailing from singing with your father and your brother, what else motivated you to engage in art making?
I just always, I always felt compelled to express myself. And, I think that like most artists, you start out doing that in numerous different ways until you find a way that really kind of works for you. So, it's hard to say, like, when did I start? I feel like I've always been a creative person, and I've just been doing it in various different ways until I really kind of came to really find my artistic voice. I think when I started to really kind of find my artistic voice was really when I started to work in video. I would say that would be my most formal training, is in, like, film and post-production.
All right.
And so, when I started to work within that space, it just opened up a lot of possibilities of creating that, really kind of resonated with me. And I think that in a lot of ways, a lot of the work that I do is somehow connected to like certain gestures that are rooted in the practice of editing, which is very similar to collage, which is funny that I do a lot of collage.
Okay, that's a very good analogy. I've done some editing before, and it is a form of collage, the way you have to cut and repaste different things and how you're trying to create a mood and sort of trying to develop techniques within the work. So that's a very good analogy. And you also mix the film with performance as well, because you do a lot of dance movements with a lot of your installations as well, correct?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to collage. I would say that collage is really kind of like, well, the gesture of collage is kind of like the glue that binds all of the various ways that I work.
Okay.
Whether that be, in terms of sound, like collaging together different samples to make a music composition, or collaging together actual images to make more kind of like formal versions of collage, to collaging together, different images as well as various things that have been filmed and objects to create a whole new environment and universe. And so, I guess like it's always kind of rooted in that sort of gesture of collage.
Yeah, and I've seen that with some examples of works you've done. You've done works where you focused on sort of subcultures, the voguing works that you did. You've also worked with a lot of other, I believe, dancers who were transgender. You were trying to kind of focus in on these various people and their forms of expression, because you were dealing with, at least this is how I saw it, dealing with folks who might be invisible to others, and you were kind of bringing them into the spotlight and connecting them to a broader, population and universe.
Yeah, and also connecting that, quote unquote, broader population and universe to that community too, because that community is also a community that I'm a part of.
Okay.
And so, a lot of that work really came out of me, really being interested in this cultural production from, Black and Latino youth, specifically Black and Latino queer youth, and, how it had just sort of been co-opted and was kind of dying, and I wasn't really seeing the few things that existed in the world when I started to make that work about that particular subject matter was not being done by people who look like me, who are actually the people who created the culture. And so I felt like I wanted to kind of make that work exist in the world, because it really wasn't there. I think that's kind of like one of the great things about being an artist, is that you can actually do that. And so, that's really was, how all of that work started. And,
No, that's very important, because I didn't know that, because you're enlightening us a little bit, because you're saying the scene for those various populations were kind of dying, and you were trying to revitalize them so that folks could remember their contributions. I guess that's what you're trying to say. You wanted their contributions to be noted, to be valued, and sustained in some way.
Yes, absolutely. And then also, there's always this sort of problem within, like, working within the canon, that whenever, like, if you are let's say, like a Black person or a Black queer person, and you're making work, there's always this sort of struggle of, the work being understood adjacent to something white, because, the art world, the way we understand it in the West, is a very Eurocentric sort of space. And so a lot of the things that inspire me and excite me oftentimes don't necessarily come from that space. Okay. That's not to say that things from that space don't inspire me. They absolutely do. But a lot of things don't. And so oftentimes I'm finding myself in a place where I have to kind of, I'm making this work inspired by something, but that thing is not recognized within the canonized art world. So I have to kind of like make the work, but then also bring that in and kind of talk about the reference point too, because people, they just don't know about it. Well, so there's always that kind of like tension in making the work.
Yeah, but you also do a good job in blending too, like your Baroque influences for the framings of a lot of your work. They're quite beautiful, stunning, in fact. And you're blending all of these types of images, the collages, and it has both a minimalist and, I guess, a post-minimalist, where you're being excessive with the glitter and the jewelry kind of look, and mixing it with that sort of Baroque frame. So you're doing a very good job in mixing and matching too. So you're
and also trying to kind of like, when thinking about Baroque, thinking about the Baroque within a diasporic space. Like, for instance, the works in the show at the Buck, there's a lot of Baroque references to it, but I was thinking a lot about Baroque within the black community. So, like, the Atlanta hair shows and many ways in which people ornament themselves and different dress and stuff like that. And so I was thinking more about Baroque within that space rather than from a Eurocentric.
Okay, that's very interesting too, because then it kind of your background from New Orleans. Because when we met, one of the things that struck me was I could see that reference, and Mardi Gras, where it's a lot of pageantry and makeup and the costuming, and I just saw all of that influence, and a lot of people still don't understand. I remember when Louis Armstrong was trying to explain how happy he was when he got to be a part of the parade where he had to wear blackface, and folks just didn't understand the nuance of all of that at all, but you did, and you're from that culture, and I'm seeing you doing this with the other groups of people that you're trying to spotlight to show, all these references and how important they are.
Yeah.
Okay, this is fantastic. So tell us again, how long is your exhibition at the DeBuck Gallery?
So sadly, it closes tomorrow.
Okay.
So for those who haven't seen it, do get out and see it if you can tomorrow. And yeah.
Okay, so the DeBuck Gallery is on 23rd Street?
Yes.
Okay, great. So for our listeners, I know it's predicting snow tomorrow, but that's not a bad thing. You can head out to Chelsea and do some gallery hopping and get some hot chocolate and walk the High Line and see Mr. Newsome's exhibition. And what is the title of your exhibition?
The exhibition is called Reclaiming Our Time.
Reclaiming Our Time. So I just want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know you're off and running. You have a lot to do. You have a lot of more work that you are trying to tend to, but thank you so much for spending a little time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Throughout the month of January, New York City's Office of Media and Entertainment presents Jan Arts NYC, the largest music festival in the world. The public can enjoy innovative works hosted around the city. Arts organizations include Chamber Music America, the Public Theater Under the Radar Festival, Prototype, Opera Theater Now, International Society for the Performing Arts, Joyce Theater's American Dance Platform, American Realness, Performance Space 122's Coil Festival, NYC Winter Jazz Fest, Wavelengths, APAP Music World Pre-Conference, APAP NYC 2018, and Global Fest. For more information, janartsnyc.org. That's janartsnyc.org.
And we are back with State of the Arts NYC, and this is your host, Savona Bailey-McClain. We just had an interesting conversation with Rashaad Newsome. He's a hot artist these days. He's all over the place. He's at the DeBuck Gallery. He just recently performed at the Park Avenue Armory, where he did a performance and a video installation there. In between two art fairs. I thought that was like wild how he was able to do all of that. He's getting ready to travel again to do more. And now we have with us live in the studio Sherrill Roland. Sherrill Roland is a very interesting artist. I really like him, and a fellow Libra too.
Indeed.
Correct? A fellow Libra. And so Mr. Roland has this interesting project called the Jumpsuit Project.
Yes, that's correct.
And you're going to be performing.
Yes, this Sunday
at
Studio Museum in Harlem.
Great. In my neck of the woods. I'm from Harlem. Where are you from?
I'm from Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, wow. Now, my father was from Fayetteville,
Okay.
and my mother was from Charleston.
Oh, wow. Good mix.
Yeah, Southerners. Yeah. So, Mr. Roland, I invited him because I was very taken by his installation. And it wasn't so much just the installation, it was how he took his experience and made it artistic, where he could share it with others so that there could be more dialogue. So why don't you tell us briefly a little bit about the project?
Well, the project started when I started grad school back in August 2012. I missed the very first day of my first year at the program at UNC Greensboro in North Carolina because I was in court. A detective from Washington, D.C. had reached out to me to let me know that I had a warrant out for my arrest in Washington, D.C., which I never lived there. And so I was just kind of like taken by this. And, by my name being Sherrill, it was hard for me to make the argument that you have the wrong one. So I was just completely confused and thinking that it would work itself out, like it was a mistake for sure. And I asked, and he was like, no, I spoke to my mother after the phone call, indeed. And she was like, no, you have to for sure check it out. Make sure, everything is taken care of because, you have your future to look out for or forward to and stuff like that. So when I went up there, I was, made aware that I had 4 felony charges out for me and that I would have to wait for an indictment to be reached in order to go to trial in front of a jury. And they had 9 months to reach an indictment. They never reached an indictment. So the next move was then I thought it would disappear, like everything would just drop.
Now, wait a minute. While this is going on, you're trying to explain to them that you're not the person that they were looking for.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you would do the same thing. Like, I went up there without a lawyer thinking that, this isn't, he couldn't explain to me what the warrant was for over the phone. So I had to go up there to hear the details. And when I got up there, I really didn't hear all of it, especially not from the other side who made the false accusation about me. And so I was just like, I have nothing to hide. I'm going to go up here and, tell you where I was or whatever, that it's just not me. And so I went up there and did that. And, the process is very, very time consuming. It's a long process when it comes to stuff like that. And when I came back to North Carolina to get back into school, I wasn't taken out of it, but to, start school, my mother was just like, stay focused, keep your head down in the books. This will all blow over. You just have to wait it out. So I tried to stay, keep my concentration and focus on my work while it blew over. So when the 9 months came, I'd already finished half of my program, did 1 year, academic year. And so when the news came, it was good news, bad news. Good news that it's not felony charges anymore. Bad news, they lowered it to misdemeanor charges now, and you go straight to a bench trial, which is no jury, and a judge determines your fate, the outcome. And that was set in October 2013, and I lost when I went there during that time. And I was sentenced to 1 year and 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I'll try to get through it quick. But yeah, it was, yes, wow, indeed. I'm definitely skipping over a lot of like the emotions, for sure, for my family, for myself, being in that situation, not planning to disappear, to be taken away, to go down that route. A lot of people did not know that I was going through that or battling this situation, because nobody wants, to have anything tainted on their reputation or anything like that. And so, yeah, I disappeared for sure, and spent my full mandatory percent of the time. I got days knocked off for good behavior and having a job. So I only spent 10 months and 2 weeks in Washington, D.C., yes.
So now, because this is wild. What has happened? I'm focusing on what you did when you came out. Did they? And you're going to tell us what you did with the project. Did they ever find the correct person?
Yeah. No, it wasn't even a situation of like that. It was just it was definitely a misunderstanding from the other person. I think I was just a pawn for this other person to make somebody else feel something else. So it wasn't even directly tied to me. Which is kind of crazy. It was like, the whole time my family was like, why, I'm asking why, but they're asking why, and they're looking for me to give some type of clues or indication of like this, how does something like this happen.
Did you even know this person?
No, I did not. So the whole time I had nothing to give, right? And so we're searching, we're asking the same questions you just did, like, is it a mistaken identity? Could you just have been in the wrong place at that time, or how that goes. And so I was just like, I don't know, like I have no idea, but here I am. This is happening fast. And so it's like I'm trying to deal with it myself. I'm trying to put these pieces together because it's my life, it's affecting me. And by the time it happened and everything was overturned at my retrial, and I was fully exonerated on everything,
thank God.
I'd already did the full time and 6 months on probation. So when that happened, it took, a little bit more time for everything to be completely cleared. And that's the time when things started, I'm going through all that. So, I mean, I had mixed feelings. Like when my lawyer called and was like, it's overturned, because I didn't even have to show up for my retrial. My lawyer just said they dismissed everything out of court before the retrial even began. So, like, they just dropped it like that.
But then left you with the baggage of dealing with all of that emotionally.
Exactly.
So then that's how you started the jumpsuit project. So tell us about that.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to figure out what to do with myself. I was told that I got my life back. My innocence was restored. And so trying to get out there in the real world, getting jobs, filling out applications, posting my resume, work history, things of that nature. I have to explain what happened in this course over 3 years, like why did I disappear, why haven't I been working, and things of that nature. And it put me in a position where I had to lie about what I was doing, making up a fabricated story like, oh, I was just trying to find myself, or oh, I was spending a little time here trying to figure it out. And I was like, why do I have to lie about somebody else's mistake? Why am I doing work of covering up something? And I was always encouraged by my family to go back to school. And when I went back to school, talking to my professors, I was like, this location has changed for me. This university doesn't look the same through the eyes that I have now. When I see these, freshly painted white walls in this art department and concrete floors, it takes me back to being in jail. So it's not the same. I'm not all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready for the world anymore. So in doing that, that's what made me ask the question, like, well, what place do I have here? I'm trying to find my place. What place do I have on a university campus when I have this experience burdening me, being a burden on my shoulders?
Right.
I was like, what does an orange jumpsuit even look like being there? Like, I've never seen one. And so my teacher was like, you need to figure that out. And so
she encouraged you, or he encouraged you? She encouraged you to do this.
Yeah, she did. And she was like, that's a great question. You need to figure that out. And so I came up, I definitely discussed this with my mother before this happened, because security is definitely an issue just with me wearing it, period. And so there was a lot of moves being made with the campus police and the regional police around the campus before I even set foot on campus with it.
Okay.
This orange jumpsuit. And so in wearing the orange jumpsuit on campus, I was really looking for the direct response of how someone would feel about like me wearing the suit, because this is a part of me. I did go through this. This is my history. And so without briefing you about it, like regularly clothes, you would not know that I had been incarcerated before.
Right.
But wearing this orange jumpsuit, I'm going to get a direct reaction out of you immediately.
And what were those reactions?
I got a slew of different reactions. I even had a lot of people run from me.
Really?
Yeah, frightened. Kind of like old Jason movies, like they'll run, stop, look back to see which direction I'm going. If I'm going their direction, they would have, they ran some more. It shocked me, and for the first couple of months, I took that very personally, and it put me back to being again in this situation where somebody is like accusing me of somebody that I'm not.
Right.
And I felt myself being like very hurt. Like, why are you running? You don't need to run from me. I'm not. I'm not here to. I'm here just like you. Why are you afraid of me?
What made people start coming towards you?
Well, it depended on their relationship themselves with this orange jumpsuit. I realized that they weren't running from me personally, because obviously they didn't know me, but they were running from this image, this African-American male in this orange jumpsuit. And so some people saw this as something to fear. Other people saw it as an act to, act in a compassionate way, because they know somebody in this image. They know somebody who's been through this.
Okay.
And so a lot of times I got, a lot of hugs.
Wow.
A lot of hugs, a lot of tears. And for me, it was like with those reactions, it gave me an opportunity to talk about what I had been through, and therefore relieve the orange jumpsuit, because now I can be me. You know everything about, like, I'm open book.
Right.
But what I got in return was something that I never accounted for or never could predict, was that many other people were looking for a way to connect as well. And so a lot of times, like even during my performances, there are a lot more people sharing their stories from family members or themselves with the, justice system and things of that nature. That is just like, it's really not me. I'm just starting the conversation, but there's a lot more people actually who are in my shoes looking for a connection, because out here in the world, out in your community, it's hard to share these stories. And sometimes you don't know how long you're hiding, compressing these things until you get an opportunity to let these things out. And sometimes, you cry because it hurts. It's tough conversation, but I think that's one of the reasons why we need to talk about it, because I think a lot of people think that incarceration isn't as close to them as they think. They might not know somebody directly, but they may go to work and their coworker, boyfriend, son, brother, father, anything like that, sister, daughter, anything like that. But it's just never an opportunity to talk about it or open up about these things.
What I liked about what you did, and I know we got to wrap up soon, but is the fact that you used art to share. And many artists have done that. They've gone through horrific experiences. I just saw a new exhibition from the artist Gorky on the Upper East Side, and they referenced the fact that it was works that he developed after going through a lot of personal tragedies. His mother died in his arms because she starved because of the Armenian genocide. There's so many people who could talk about, warlike displacements, and out of that, they had to find a way to release. And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Yeah, I was struggling. I couldn't find any way to go. And this is the only, seems like the only card in my hand that I had to play. And my previous work is nothing like performance work. I was never one for the spotlight or anything like that. But the only reason I got over the intimidation of being in the spotlight was just it couldn't have been as bad as going through jail. I was that's the toughest, that's the lowest I've ever been in my life.
Right.
And for me to even think that somebody could say something about me wearing this suit that could take me there again, it's just there's no way nobody could get that close to me.
Now you're going to be performing this weekend, correct?
Yes, from 4 to 6 this Sunday at the Studio Museum.
And isn't it booked already? Nobody can get in.
It's their target-free Sundays. So the way the performance happens is that you can come in at any time, and usually there is a small crowd that comes, which is fabulous because it dictates the conversations that are being had, and it's a great crowd. New York has been great for me. I'm not from here, but it's great to hear the stories because I wasn't locked up at Rikers or anything like that, but stories like that help make the conversation more powerful, for sure. And
I'm hearing that children have been going to the museum and sitting in front of that jumpsuit and having conversations about it.
Yeah, the thing that surprised me the most is that even though this started out as an art project, this conversation is kind of universal. It goes across a lot of different disciplines. And the fact that it's connecting, again, this issue of incarceration affects everybody. It's a part of a larger community, even though it may not be, you may not think it's close to you, it is.
Yeah. But my thing is about it, because we do need to wrap up, is just the fact that we have taken incarceration and commodified it. And it's about making a buck off the people who are in these situations that are quite horrific and not really offering any rehabilitation or very little counseling to help folks, trying to find out if there's anything that could be done, putting together a support system, or in your case, finding out if what was being brought against you was even true. It's just this blanket, you're a male, African-American male, so automatically it's assumed you did whatever somebody said. And in your case, it wasn't true at all. But now you can put a spotlight back on them. So you can reverse this and then make them feel shame for shaming other people incorrectly. And I feel great that you're doing this project.
Yeah, I feel very lucky and blessed to even have the opportunity to say that, I got my record clean. Going through this process is definitely, I've been able to talk to other guys who have been incarcerated and was wrongfully convicted. I'm very lucky and blessed. It's a very rare thing that someone like me could be in a position like this today, for sure, because at the rate of incarceration, at the rate of my trial, it just made me very aware of how quickly people can get caught away up, and hidden away. Yes. And it's such a slow process, or for anybody to give you the benefit of the doubt that you are telling the truth. And so, luckily, somebody was able to put in the time to come find me and help me out with my case. And that is something that we need a lot more of, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I am so glad. I'm going to be stopping by Sunday at Studio Museum. So. And it was a pleasure meeting you. We had so many people asking me about you, so I'm just so glad you were able to come in the studio and talk with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we're going to take a quick music break. And we are back with State of the Arts NYC, where we cover art. This is your host, Savona Bailey-McClain, and we just had Sherrill Roland here live in the studio to tell us about the Jumpsuit Project and how he was able to use art to help him heal and to bring about dialogue for a very sensitive issue in the United States, mass incarceration, and how he is now able to smile in our studio and perform at the Studio Museum in Harlem this weekend. So I am so glad that he was able to do that. And now I am so excited because we are going to have our second annual reading of The Snowy Day. Sorry about that. I guess somebody was so excited they wanted to call in to see if we were getting started. So we are going to have Malika Lee Whitney joining us again and reading this classic tale. And also with us in the studio is Deborah Pope, who is the executive director of the Ezra Jack Keats Foundation. So for families, because we have been promoting this on Brooklyn Patch and Harlem Patch and Facebook and other platforms, we told families they could just sit home, relax, listen by the radio, and now we're going to have the reading of this classic tale, The Snowy Day.
The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. One morning, Peter woke up. He looked out the window. Snow had fallen during the night. It covered everything he could see. After breakfast, he put on his snowsuit and ran outside. The snow was piled up very high, all along the street to make a path for walking. Crunch, 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 crunch. His feet sank into the snow. He walked with his toes pointed out like this. He walked with his toes pointed in like that. Then he dragged his feet slowly to make tracks, and he found something sticking out of the snow that made a new track. It was a stick that was just right for smacking a snow-covered tree. Down fell the snow, plop, on top of Peter's head. He thought it would be fun to join in the big boys and their snowball fight. but he knew he wasn't old enough. Not yet. So he made a smiling snowman. And he made angels. He pretended he was a mountain climber. He climbed up a great big tall heaping mountain of snow and slid all the way down. He picked up a handful of snow and another and still another. He packed it round and firm and put the snowball in his pocket for tomorrow. Then he went into his warm house. He told his mother all about his adventures while she took off his wet socks. And he thought and thought and thought about them. While he slept, he dreamed that the sun had melted all the snow away. But when he woke up, his dream was gone. The snow was still everywhere. New snow was falling. After breakfast, he called to his friend from across the hall, and together they went out into the deep, deep, deep snow. The Snowy Day. Ezra Jack Keats. I'm Malika Lee Whitney.
And I just want to thank Malika for reading for us again this year, The Snowy Day. I want to thank her also for working with my interns at Hostos Community College Digital Media Program, Adrian Rivera, Cesar Perez, Stephen Pirouette, to create a public service announcement that we shared with so many people so that they could get excited about the reading of The Snowy Day. We would like to thank Deborah Pope for joining us in the studio, and State of the Arts NYC has formed a partnership with Literacy Partners. And so in January, we are going to be distributing to over 20 families a copy of The Snowy Day for parents who are trying to learn English as a second language so that they can read it to their children to keep alive this fabulous tradition of the Snowy Day, but also parents engaging with their children and making reading a very important and memorable part of their children's lives. So I just want to say thank you for doing this for us again.
And thank you as well. And of course, I want to send a special holla and a shout out to the young crew, and they're getting their skill sets together. So it was great to be in their presence. And I have history with the literacy organization as well, so we'll talk about that.
Yes.
And I love books. I love bringing books alive, and it's something that I did here some years earlier, and I'm looking forward to rebooting that program. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. And also for the benefit of our listeners, before we leave the show, yes, this is a fund drive time for WBAI. So State of the Arts has come up with some very interesting gifts for our listeners. So if you remember, last week we had started reading the essay by Linda Nochlin about why don't we have great women artists. And we read about 20 of the 24 paragraphs and was running out of time. So again, with our interns, Adrian, Caesar, Stephen, we actually re-edited, added music, and did some re-recording so that we can pull together that whole essay. And now we have it beautifully done. So if we get any listeners tonight, and we know we have a lot of listeners who would like to hear that audio cast, all you need to do is become a buddy for State of the Arts NYC. And therefore, you would get directly a link for that audio cast so that you can hear it multiple times and share it with others. Given the climate in our country and the fact that we're examining roles and responsibilities and how do we deal with our culture and the inclusion of everyone, and especially women right now, this was very important to do. It was thoughtful. It was caring. And we got a number of women, curators, producers, performance artists. We had Prairie Miller from WBAI with Arts Express who participated, Ann Lewis, Lumitan and Lisa Dent, who was on our show a few weeks before, who were part of that open letter to the arts community. We had Michelle Preed, who was on our show, and she then went to Art Basel. She still might be there doing this major performance piece there. Michelle Hartney, Brittany Clark, a performer. We had so many women. Alexandra Mondolfe, who was doing it. Lina Puerta, who was on our show, who's a fabulous artist who deals with a lot of floral designs. We have Pamela Giantini, who has a brand new gallery in Chelsea on 10th Avenue. We had Queen Esther, who was a part of it and sang in our studio last Friday night. So we had so many great women, including myself, reading as well. And just by being a WBAI buddy for State of the Arts, you get to have that audio cast. And the first two will also get an additional present, and that is the exhibition catalog for Gilbert and George, which is at the Lehman Mulpin Gallery in Chelsea as well. They're kind of a major hit, these older gentlemen. They're like the Warhol team in the UK, and they have this very dramatic exhibition that's going on in Chelsea. So the first two would get that as well. The point is, we're trying to do something new, different, interactive, that we can embrace our listeners, get them to make the arts a part of their everyday lives, like the reading, having guests just like Sherrill. So therefore, we can really see the arts for what it really can do, and that is to bridge divides and help people heal. And it's about making sure that we have a sustainable future where all people are included and no one has to fear having their voices heard or wanting to make a difference in our society. That's what we're trying to do right here at State of the Arts NYC. We're partnering with groups like Literacy Partners, so therefore we can help new families who are coming in our country establish this wonderful reading tradition. That the arts is about that too. We were talking earlier about radio plays, right? We were talking about radio plays and how we used to have people like Orson Welles and Vincent Price who used to, make people scared with The Shadow and other types of theatrical productions. That's what we're trying to do here, to help people feel the arts. You had Mr. Newsome talking about how he sang with his brother and his father. I mean, a lot of families used to do that. You had great traditions, Welsh families, Irish families, Black families, Caribbean families, all kinds of families who used to sing or play instruments together. And that's how people grew and decided to maybe one day be Jimi Hendrix, who just dropped a new album and he's no longer with us. But that's what we are trying to do here. That's what makes us special. That's what makes WBAI special, having shows that want to connect with others, connect with our audience, connect with other New Yorkers. So you can dial, what number, Reggie, that they can dial and make that contribution?
The number to call to show your support to this radio program and also to WBAI is 516-620-3602. Once again, the number is 516-620-3602. And for those people that are listening online via stream at WBAI.org, you can donate to this program and to this radio station by going to give2wbai.org on the web. That's give2wbai.org on the web.
Yes, and that's what we're doing. We are hoping that you will be a supporter tonight for State of the Arts NYC. That's just a $10 contribution per month to be a WBAI buddy for the year. And we are planning some really funky stuff throughout the year. In addition to readings, we're going to be doing some more audio casts. We're going to do some Skyping where those who are supporters get to be a part of some Skype conversations, and we can really delve into some real interesting topics. Just this week, I took some people to the Upper East Side, and we saw a lot of art. We saw Yayoi Kusama. I hope I'm saying her last name right. I'm not very good with Japanese, but she's all the rage in New York City with both her Festival of Light in Chelsea and the Affinity Net in the Upper East Side. I mean, those dramatic polka dots and the flowers and the long lines that went last weekend, 5 hours long. So therefore, people could come inside for the few minutes that they gave you to see her works. But we were able to go this week, take pictures, share them on Facebook, share them on Twitter. We were able to have various people talk to us who went around and some of the other galleries and just share their opinions and their philosophy, because art is subjective. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. It's subjective. It's what you think, what you feel, what you take away from it. So by being a WBAI buddy for State of the Arts NYC, you can have these unique experience with us. You can have these unique connections with us. And so therefore, you get to broaden your world. You get to broaden your circle, and so therefore you get to meet other people. We are looking forward to doing those Skype conversations and bringing in other artists and lecturers to talk about different movements like Arte Povera, which is happening. There's a few exhibitions going on about that Italian movement that took place in the 1960s, or to talk about surrealism, which is also becoming a real hot subject matter, or design, because design has now become a big thing. We got master's drawings coming up in January with European art, and we have outsider art that's coming up, glass and ceramics. We just saw Joan Mervis. I love her gallery. I really do. Her contemporary Japanese ceramics is marvelous. Or Southeast Asian works from Kapoor Gallery. And then my friends from Throckmorton Fine Arts, they always have fantastic Latin American contemporary photography. So please, as we are wrapping up, be a supporter of State of the Arts NYC, and by being a WBAI buddy, you get to have that audio cast. You get to have the exhibition catalog from Gilbert and George. You get to participate with other listeners and other creative professionals throughout the year. So with that said, we are about to wrap up. We wish you all a great week and stay toasty warm during the snow. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
WBAI has begun to engage new and creative off-air fundraising methods. A concerned WBAI supporter has generously donated his Manhattan home for a WBAI fundraising party on Wednesday, December 13th. Along with a talk by Professor Richard Wolff, there will be a tribute to WBAI's David Rothenberg. Also attending are General Managers Berthel Reimers, Programming Manager Tony Bates, various other WBAI producers, and a special guest from the Revolution. It all takes place in Manhattan on Wednesday, December 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. Entry to the party, which includes food and drinks, is only a $500 donation. Donations from the event will be dedicated to WBAI's Empire State Building Fund. Registration ends on Tuesday, December 12th at 5 p.m. Space is very limited, so RSVP now by calling AMA at 347-886-2026 or by emailing ama@wbai.org.
On November 24th to December 10th at the Cinema Village, Missed Harlem, and Teachers College, Columbia University celebrate Black life on the big screen with the African Diaspora International Film Festival. Discover over 60 entertaining and revealing fiction and documentary films, including 34 U.S. and New York premieres such as Mama Africa, Miriam Makeba, Sammy Davis Jr., I've Gotta Be Me, the Canadian political satire Black Cop, and more. The African Diaspora International Film Festival from November 24th to December 10th. For tickets and schedule, go online to myadiff.org or call 212-864-1760. Enjoy your world on the big screen.
On Sunday, December 10th at 11 p.m., Sugar in My Bowl kicks off our Winter Jazz Festival coverage with saxophonist, bandleader, and composer Shabaka Hutchings. Join us as we discuss some of Shabaka's projects, including Sons of Kemet and The Comet Is Coming, which will be featured at the festival. That's Sunday, December 10th at 11 p.m., right here on WBAI New York, 99.5 FM, and WBAI.org on the web.
Looking to start or add to your art collection? During the December mini drive, the online art auction will reopen for bidding, with reductions of minimum bids up to 30%. This is a great opportunity to pick up some wonderful artwork for your holiday giving. Minimum bids have been reduced and one-of-a-kind bargains abound. Guaranteed delivery to Manhattan and nearby areas before Christmas. Go to WBAI.org to proceed to the online auction site.
On Saturday, December 9th, the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition will host a program in observance of International Human Rights Day. Featured will be a book signing for the newly reprinted collective autobiography of the Panther 21, Look for Me in the Whirlwind. The reprint features new writings by Sekou Odinga, Mumia Abu-Jamal, and Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly H. Rap Brown, among others. Speakers and cultural presenters for the evening include Larry Ham, Vienna Carroll, the Obadiah Wright Balance Dance Theater, Jamal Joseph, Dequi Keone Siddiqui, and Collective Flow. Everything takes place at the Commons Cafe, 388 Atlantic Avenue in downtown Brooklyn from 7:30 until 10:30 p.m. For further information, call 718-512-5008 or email freethamall2016@gmail.com. See you on Saturday.
All right, and once again, this is WBAI New York, 99.5 FM, and WBAI.org online. We are in fundraising mode for the holiday season of 2017, raising funds so we can continue on providing you that information that you expect from us here on a regular basis here at WBAI. We are truly the alternative to whatever the commercial media out there puts out, because we all should be well aware, informed on the fact that mainstream media has failed us. We are in the situation we're in right now presently is because of the misinformation of the mainstream media. Regardless of ideology, the mainstream media has failed us, because regardless of this notion of whether that there is this conservative, so-called conservative notion or so-called liberal notion, the general idea is that the bottom line is a corporate notion, and that's what it is all about, regardless of ideology, but not here at WBAI. We are supported by the individuals like yourselves, listener-powered people, listener-sponsored radio here, independent radio here, part of the Pacifica Radio Network. And we want to continue on providing you that information, but we can only do that with your help. Once again, the number to call to show your support is 516-620-3602, or go to give2wbai.org on the web, 516-620-3602, or go to give2, that's the number 2, give2wbai.org on the web. And also you can text to donate to this radio station by texting WBAI to your on your smartphone to the number 41444, and that's another way of donating to this radio station. Once again, 516-620-3602, or go to give2wbai.org, or text to donate by texting the word